Joining me now for more on all of this is Sigrid McCawley. She's an attorney who represents several of the Epstein victims. She's the longtime attorney for Virginia Giuffre, who accused Epstein of trafficking her to Prince Andrew and other men from the time that she was 17 years old. Great to have you on the show, Sigrid. You have called this the longest-running sex trafficking operation you've ever seen. What do you think you're going to learn from these files?
That's correct. This is definitely the longest sex trafficking scheme we have seen in our history currently. These files, I suspect, will have a lot of what we've seen in some of the civil cases, but I suspect that we will be seeing some new items. For example, even this evening, we're seeing a list of what appears to be items that were confiscated by the government that hasn't flown out yet. So materials that they, in their investigation, may have confiscated from the house in New York and other places. So I anticipate, with the words we're hearing from our government right now, that we may be getting some of this information in the near future.
We know that a lot of these documents released tonight are flight logs. You say those are actually important. What do they tell you besides who's on board the plane? And we don't know that just that they're on a plane, that means that they were engaged in this kind of sex trafficking.
Very true. I mean, the flight logs are telling to me because they tell you who was in Epstein's circle. They also have things in them like, for example, an entry will say 2 females without identifying the names. So we presume that he is trafficking women in that context, right? They're not revealing the names for a reason. It shows you who's in his inner circle. It also shows you different individuals like Virginia Giuffre. She was trafficked over 20 times, both nationally and internationally. Yet you'll see her on a flight going to, for example, California. And then 2 days later, there's no flight, and she shows up in New Mexico, leaving from there, going to someplace else. So there are missing pieces in these logs as well. So it's really sort of a puzzle to kind of try to piece everything together and understand what was happening in Epstein's sphere.
And we just saw, Laura was holding up one of these documents, had some handwritten notes with the names of chefs, the names of caterers, staff-type people. Why is this going to be important to you and your case?
Well, certainly it's important who was in Epstein's circle, right? So we have heard from, for example, air traffic control in the islands after he passed away. They acknowledged that they saw hundreds and hundreds of young females coming through that airport. So the people who were surrounding him, the chefs, the assistants, the people that were in his circle know about the trafficking. They have a good knowledge base. And it's those people that the government needs to be interviewing and, frankly, holding to account the trafficking.
I was just going to ask, do you consider them witnesses or do you consider them suspects to be investigated?
Certainly a little bit of both. I mean, there were blurry lines here without question, but there are many people that the government has not yet held accountable who were in that inner circle and who were critical in facilitating the trafficking. We're hoping that now there'll be a fresh look at this information. And as the SDNY previously prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell and put her in prison for 20 years, we're hoping that the government will start to take a careful look at those other people that were on the inner circle of Epstein's sphere that helped him traffic these hundreds and hundreds of young victims.
And then super quickly, Ghislaine Maxwell maintains her innocence. Her attorney says these documents coming out tonight and tomorrow morning will prove that. What's your reaction?
My reaction is we had a full fair trial for Ghislaine Maxwell of 4 individuals who were minor children who were assaulted by her. I think the more information that comes out, the more damning it will be for her.
Sigrid McCawley, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll probably want to check back in with you after tomorrow morning's document dump. So keep near to your phone. We'll be calling. Thank you. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.